session. I'm your host, Peace, Breathe, and Be. And today's episode is episode number 4. So, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about birth. Well, really, rebirth. That's what we'll title it as, rebirth. So, I do have some notes here. With that being said, for today's episode, I do have my notes. So let me tell you how I came about titling this episode and really just making this a topic. So there has been, movies and just different things, and I was thinking, there's a lot of movies where, you see the babies being born and then you see them grow up and you see how they interact in life. And I started to think, I'm like, you know what would we be like? And not only what would we be like, but think about, and actually I had this episode written down last month because this was kind of just a thought manifested. But a good friend of mine, we all have like this group chat, and she asked the question. She was like, what would we be like? What would children be like if there were no laws, there were no indoctrination? What would they be like if they were just there, if they had the freedom to really become who they wanted to be without societal views, without laws, without indoctrinations, without all of the noise of telling them who they should be, what they should do, what they should become? And it got me to thinking really further on this topic because, like I said, I had this topic written down like last month, but she and I and our friends, we all had that conversation like in the group chat. And to really answer that question, who would we be? Because when we are born, we're born under societal standards. We're born to a mother and a father. We're born to a community of people who are already indoctrinated. For instance, like if you're born to a mother who is a professor, she's probably going to indoctrinate education into you because she sees that as value of importance. If you were born to someone who does construction, they're going to instill in you hard work and what things look like to shape and to mold things. Or if you're born to a painter, you're probably going to have more freedom to be creative. You get my point where I'm going with this, right? So let's just say what if we just didn't have any of that? What if we were really born and we had the freedom to really discover what life is? What if we had the power to make life what it is? We still do, but without all of the outside noise, you know what I mean? So I do have a few theories. You know me, when my brain get to work, and I think I was up late one night and I just wrote this episode down, and I was like, you know what if, are we really born? That was the question that I had. I'm like, are we really born? Are we? Because we've been ingested with things. Like, people have taught us, like, go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a degree, get a job, work that job for 25 years, retire. Before you retire, get married, have children, and wake up, do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And see, I come from my parents are baby boomers, so it was taught to them, and then they taught it to us. Show of hands for the people in the comments who parents are baby boomers, but they have have a very specific way on how they were raised because their parents were raised a certain way. And most of their parents probably didn't go to college, so they instilled it to them. If this is what you do, you go to college, you do this. Or most of them probably didn't go, and then they taught us the same thing. But, you know, with that being said, I really kind of just wrote some stuff down. I'll tell you guys what I wrote. So I said, you know, episode 5, this is this is episode 4, sorry. And this is birth and rebirth. So when we are birthed, I put when we are birthed, are we really born? Like I said, this was late at night. I was like, are we really born? Are we really born? It is very seldomly that I'm up late at night, but when I have ideas, I wake up out of my sleep and I start to write. So this was one of them. So I said, when we are born, once we take our first breath, yes, we exist, but are we really birthed into what we need to be on track for our purpose? When we become aware of our experience and decide on how the impact has shaped us, we go through life's lessons. And this is what I wrote. And this is the analogy that I came up with from my experience and others' experience and societal. Like, I'm a millennial. So millennials, we are, I'll give you a good example. During the pandemic, a lot of us quit our jobs and started businesses. A lot of us were like, hey, I went to school for 4 years and I hate what I'm doing. You know, when I got in my field, for people who don't know, I have a bachelor's in criminal justice. But when I got into that field, it was chaotic. And I just felt like I didn't have the freedom to really be who I needed to be in that field. And I just look back on it, I'm like, Alexis, can you see yourself doing this for the rest of your life? And my immediate answer was no. No, I cannot. And I always knew that I wanted to do something that was going to give me freedom, that was going to give me a sense of purpose, because I knew that wasn't my purpose. And I believe that we're put in certain spaces and places at the right time. And I think that I was put there just to show me, like, hey, you know, this is not for you. Because sometimes we are put in places to show you, hey, this ain't for you. Like, and I was like, well, is my 4 years that I done in vain? Like, what did I do all of this for? And then you try to force yourself into a reality that is not meant for you. And I'm like, you know, I would wake up every morning, repeat the same thing, get dressed, go to work, come home, get dressed, go to work, come home, get dressed, go to work, come home. And I'm like, oh, this is not it. I was like, this can't be my life. This is not it. And I feel like I'm rambling. I'm sorry. Let me go ahead. So with that being said, I wrote down really my analogy of life. And I look at Earth like a school and life like a classroom. So this is what I wrote. So class 1 is rebirth. So rebirth, now put it here, class 1, rebirth. And rebirth is basically when you realize, like how I just said, I realized, like, hey, I've been indoctrinated, I've been told, do this, go to school, and now I'm in the cycle, I'm in the matrix. I'm waking up every day, wash, repeat, wash, repeat. It's like the same cycle. And I'm like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So when you become conscious of, this is not meant for me, this construct is not meant for me, you're going through a rebirth. Not just with, oh, well, this job is not for me, but this lifestyle is not for me. You go through and you start to pick apart what you've been taught as a child. You get what I'm saying? And I started to go through that. Not saying what I was taught was bad, but it just wasn't for me. Like the go to school, get an education, because I had a dream before I even graduated high school. My dream was, I'm gonna go out to California to be an actress and I'm going to be a dancer. I'm going to take dance lessons and stuff. So do I still dance? No, not professionally, but I dance in my own way. Do I act? I did attend an acting school for a short while when I was in Dallas, Texas, but that came to an end. The pandemic hit right in the midst of that, and I was like, ugh. But long story short, I started to realize that basically the life that I wanted was going to take a shift, you know, or what I was taught was going to take a major shift, because I'm like, this is not the life that I want to live. I have the power to create the life that I want to live, you know, and that's rebirth. When you decide this is not for me, you start to look at things very different from your own perspective, not just by what society is telling you, this is what you need to do. You're like, no, that's not for me. That's not what I'm going to do. And that's rebirth. So this is class number 2. So it's self-discovery. So once you start to rebirth yourself and to look at things through your own lenses and your own perspective, you come through rebirth. So after the rebirth, then there's self-discovery. So class 2 is self-discovery. So you start to realize things about yourself, like, hey, I do like this, or I'm a person who doesn't fit in with societal standards, and that's okay. Or I am a person who likes certain things. I like what other people don't like, and that's okay. You start to discover the core of who you are, because like I said, we've been so indoctrinated to like the same things and wear the same clothes, and you know, you start to create, you start to be an alchemist when you go through a point of self-discovery, because self-discovery is basically going to teach you so many things about yourself. And when I had that freedom to, you know, walk away from like my jobs and the things that didn't serve me, I started to really look within and really get to know myself and say, hey, what do I like to do? I discovered that I love to, you know, cook more, and I love vegan food, and I love like the arts, and I love like cinematography. I love like beautiful things. I'm a tourist, so I'm into arts and all of that type of stuff. But I really got a chance to rediscover who I am as a person, as an individual, and not as a collective. So that's self-discovery. So class 3 is self-love. You develop a love for yourself. You stop blaming yourself for wasted time. And that's another thing that I did. I'm like, well, you know, I started talking to the Most High. I was like, you know, God, if I wasn't supposed to do this, why did I go to school for 4 years? Why did I do that? He was like, you know what, you have free will, but everything wasn't in vain. And I started to beat myself up about it. He was like, you got there so you can get to another stop, you know. He was like, I sent you to school so you could learn mastery, you can learn discipline, so you could turn in papers on time, so you can do this, so you could sit in a classroom and obtain knowledge, you know. He was like, that was a form of you being disciplined. And I was like, oh, because, you know, you have to wake up for class, you have to turn in assignments on time, you have to do assignments, you have to do the research. And I believe it was getting me ready for this point that I am in my life, and so much more. But, you know, that's self-love. But I was like, you know what? Well, that's discipline, not self-love. But going into self-love is when you start to really stop beating yourself up about the mistakes that you made, or the feeling like you made a mistake. You look at things from a different perspective, and you say, hey, this was not in vain, because it taught me discipline. It taught me to be more organized. And it did. School actually did teach me that. It taught me to be more organized, more disciplined, wake up on time, turn in your assignments on time. It actually made me respect deadlines, because, child, I am a big procrastinator. You hear me? I will drag. It's gotten better. I'm not like that anymore, but I will drag and drag and drag something out till I can't drag it no more. You hear me? But It taught me to be softer and kinder to myself, and that is class number 3. So class number 4 is self-mastery. So I had to really learn like self-mastery and really come to a point of where I was able to learn and adjust things about myself and discover like new ways and different things that I wanted to accomplish and do. Because one of the things about me, I'm very multi-talented, but I will start something and won't finish something else. I'm like, ooh, you know what? I'm working on this, but let me start this over here. I've learned to stop, take a breath, practice, learn, practice, learn. Keep at it while you're still learning, because I'm like, well, let me go over here and do this. But it's okay to be multi-talented. And you know, at first I was just like, you know, I can't focus on just one thing. I just want to do everything. And I had to stop and take a breath and say, you know what, that's fine that you have all of these talents, Alexis, but you have to master something. And I forgot, it's a saying that says the jack of all but the master of none, or something like that. Like, people that they're talented at a lot of things, but they never master the one thing that they need to nurture. And I looked at it like, you know, you're really good at this, but it needs a little bit more nurturing. You need to nurture this gift. And it was nurturing my gift. So that is the final class number 4. So, and that's what I think. I look at life like that. I look at life as rebirth, self-discovery, self-love, self-mastery. And I kind of just started thinking, I'm like, Earth is just like a master class. That's all it is. That's all it is, of your experiences and your perspective. And it molds and shapes you into a certain way until you pick it apart, and now you're looking at things through your view and your perspective. And with that being said, this is Couch Conversation, and I want to thank y'all so much for coming in and watching me, and I love you so very much. I will see you guys on the next upload. Bye.